Suppose we know the sine or the cosine of an acute angle. Can we calculate the other one? In this case, we know that the sine of alpha is equal to 0.6. The sine of alpha is equal to a over c, and the cosine of alpha is equal to b over c. Since this is a right triangle, from the Pythagorean theorem, we know that a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. And if we divide both sides by c squared, we get a squared over c squared plus b squared over c squared is equal to 1. But the sine of alpha is equal to a over c, which means that a squared over c squared is the sine squared of alpha. And the cosine of alpha is equal to b over c, which means that b squared over c squared is the cosine squared of alpha. So the sine squared of alpha plus the cosine squared of alpha is equal to 1. This identity is called the Pythagorean Trigonometric identity, and we'll use it to solve our initial problem. Since the sine squared of alpha plus the cosine squared of alpha is equal to 1, then the cosine squared of alpha is equal to 1 minus the sine squared of alpha, and in this case that is equal to 1 minus 0.6 squared, which is equal to 1 minus 0.36, and that is equal to 0.64. And since alpha is an acute angle, then the cosine of alpha is positive, which means that the cosine of alpha is equal to the square root of 0.64, and that is equal to 0.8. We started with a problem where we knew the sine of an acute angle and we needed to calculate the cosine. Then we saw that for the right triangle with legs A and B and hypotenuse C, if the leg A is opposite to the angle alpha, then the sine of alpha is equal to a over c and the cosine of alpha is equal to b over c. Using the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared, and dividing both sides by c squared, we get that the sine squared of alpha plus the cosine squared of alpha is equal to 1. Finally, from there we calculated that in our initial problem the cosine of alpha was 0.8. With that in mind, I leave you with this question. If alpha is an acute angle and if the sine of alpha is equal to 5 over 13, what is the sine of 90 degrees minus alpha? That is all for this video. If you liked it, click the like button, it helps with the YouTube algorithm. And I'll see you next time.